need to leave this property immediately.
Excuse me? I live here. This is my home.
I got a call that you're trespassing. You match the description of a suspicious person.
Suspicious? I am the homeowner. This is my house.
Homeowner or not, you're leaving. I need to see your ID now.
I'm providing ID, but you are violating my rights in my own home.
You're being uncooperative.
Officer Kyle Richards had been with the Houston Police Department for 14 years. In those 14 years, he'd accumulated 28 formal complaints. 23 of them involved black men he'd accused of trespassing, breaking and entering, or not belonging at properties in affluent neighborhoods. A black homeowner trimming hedges in his yard was questioned for unauthorized landscaping. A black executive retrieving packages from his porch was detained for theft. A black engineer unlocking his garage was investigated for burglary. A black pharmacist sitting on his own front steps was told he looked suspicious. A black professor watering his lawn was handcuffed for trespassing on private property. A black accountant checking his mail was arrested for loitering with intent. Every complaint ended the same way: property records confirming ownership, internal review that cleared Richards, bias training he attended but ignored, written warnings that accumulated but meant nothing, union protection that blocked any real consequences. One Saturday morning in Houston, his 14-year pattern of assuming black men didn't belong in wealthy neighborhoods finally confronted someone who'd built a successful career as an aerospace engineer, purchased his dream home in a prestigious neighborhood, and wasn't going to accept being treated like a criminal on his own front porch. That confrontation would end Richards' career, cost the city $1.3 million, and expose a department that had ignored 28 complaints over 14 years. Michael Carter, a 45-year-old aerospace engineer, was standing on his own front porch in the Memorial neighborhood, picking up his morning newspaper when a police car pulled up and an officer emerged with aggressive posture. His house keys were inside on the kitchen counter, his driver's license and his wallet in the bedroom, his name on the deed and the nameplate by the front door. No crime, no break-in, no violation, just an engineer getting his newspaper. But Officer Richards saw him through a lens so warped by racial assumptions that he couldn't process a black man at a luxury home as the legitimate owner. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Hit that subscribe button. These stories expose the truth. Houston, Texas. Memorial, one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods with expansive homes, country club access, and residents who valued privacy and prestige. Michael's home was an impressive 2-story colonial with 4 bedrooms, a pool, and professionally landscaped grounds. He'd purchased it 3 years ago for $925,000. It was 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday morning, temperature 78 degrees, humid with partly cloudy skies. The neighborhood was quiet with the peaceful atmosphere of weekend mornings. A few neighbors were out walking dogs or getting newspapers. Michael Carter had been an aerospace engineer for 21 years, currently a senior systems engineer at NASA's Johnson Space Center working on spacecraft propulsion systems. He'd graduated from MIT with a degree in aerospace engineering, then earned his master's degree from Caltech. He'd worked on multiple space missions, contributed to critical systems on the International Space Station, published research in aerospace journals, and held 3 patents for propulsion technology. He earned over $200,000 annually. He'd purchased his Memorial home 3 years ago for $925,000 after years of saving. He'd been so proud to afford a home in this prestigious neighborhood. He'd renovated the backyard, installed a pool, created a home office where he worked on complex engineering calculations. He knew his neighbors. He'd hosted a block party last summer. He'd never had any issues until today. That morning, Michael had woken early, made coffee, and was reading news on his tablet. He heard the newspaper delivery and stepped out barefoot in his pajama pants and t-shirt to grab it from the porch. He bent down to pick up the paper when he heard a car stop and an aggressive voice that made his stomach drop. Do you think officers should verify property ownership before confronting homeowners? Drop your answer below. Officer Kyle Richards had those 28 complaints over 14 years. 23 involved black men at properties in affluent areas, a pattern so undeniable that multiple supervisors had recommended his termination, community leaders had demanded his removal, and internal affairs had flagged him as a severe liability in wealthy neighborhoods. But the police union had successfully fought every disciplinary action, arguing that Richards was simply protecting valuable properties and preventing crime. His personnel file was thick with identical complaints from homeowners and residents. One internal affairs report from 18 months ago specifically stated, Officer Richards consistently assumes black men in affluent areas are criminals regardless of evidence. This pattern has persisted despite multiple interventions. Recommend immediate termination. The recommendation was blocked by the union. He remained on patrol because the system valued union protection over residents' constitutional rights. That morning, Richards was patrolling Memorial when he received a call about suspicious activity. Someone who didn't belong was lurking around a house. The caller, a new resident who'd moved in a month earlier, reported seeing a black man in shabby clothes at a house. Richards arrived within minutes and saw Michael barefoot in pajama pants on a porch. "Sir, you need to leave this property right now." Michael looked up from his newspaper, startled. "Leave? This is my house. I own it." "I received a call that someone is breaking into this residence." Michael looked down at the newspaper in his hand, then at Richards, confused. "Breaking in? I'm standing on my own porch. I live here. I stepped out to get my newspaper." "This doesn't add up. Show me proof you own this place." Michael felt frustration rising but kept his voice controlled. "I'm Michael Carter. I'm an aerospace engineer at NASA. I bought this house 3 years ago for $925,000. This is my home. My ID is inside. My deed is inside. I came out to get my newspaper in my pajamas. If you can't prove ownership, you need to leave immediately." "Leave my own house?" "Officer, I work for NASA. I'm a senior engineer. I design spacecraft systems. I own this home. You can verify everything with Harris County property records. I need to see identification right now. My wallet is inside my house, in my bedroom, where I keep it when I'm home in my pajamas getting the newspaper. Then step off the porch. This is my porch, at my house, that I own. Should NASA engineers be arrested at their own homes? Let me know what you think." A neighbor jogging past slowed to a stop. "Officer, that's Michael. He lives there. He works at NASA. He's owned that house for 3 years. What's the problem?" Richards barely glanced at her. "Ma'am, keep moving." The neighbor, Jennifer Morrison, didn't move. "I'm not moving. He's my neighbor. He hosted our block party last summer. That's his house. My name is Jennifer Morrison. I live 3 doors down. We've been neighbors for 3 years. Richards turned back to Michael. "Sir, final warning. Leave this property or you're under arrest." "Under arrest for standing on my own porch in my pajamas?" "You're trespassing." "On my own property? At the house I paid $925,000 for?" Richards moved toward him. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back." "This is insane. I'm a NASA engineer. I own this house." "You're under arrest for trespassing, obstruction, and disorderly conduct." "Disorderly conduct? I'm holding a newspaper." Richards grabbed Michael's arm and forced it behind his back, the newspaper falling to the porch. Michael didn't resist but spoke clearly. "I am not resisting. I'm complying. I am Michael Carter, senior aerospace engineer at NASA Johnson Space Center. I own this property at 8247 Memorial Drive. I purchased it 3 years ago for $925,000. I'm being arrested on my own front porch for getting my newspaper. Officer Richards is arresting me for being black in Memorial. I have witnesses." The neighbor, Jennifer, was already on her phone. "I'm calling the neighborhood association. Someone call NASA. The police are arresting Michael at his own house." Richards handcuffed Michael, the metal tight on his wrists that had drafted technical specifications for spacecraft, that had signed off on systems now orbiting Earth, that had contributed to humanity's exploration of space. He walked him toward his patrol car while Michael continued speaking. "I'm an aerospace engineer at NASA. I have 3 patents. I work on the space program. I own this house. My neighbors know me. Property records are public. This officer is arresting me for getting my newspaper while black." More neighbors were emerging now, several recognizing Michael immediately and reacting with shock. "That's his house," one shouted. "He's the NASA engineer," another confirmed. "This is outrageous," a third yelled. One neighbor ran inside to call the neighborhood association president. Another was recording, narrating. "This is Michael Carter. He works at NASA. He's being arrested at his own house for getting the newspaper." Richards placed Michael in the back of his patrol car. Through the window, Michael could see his newspaper on the porch, his front door standing open where he'd left it, neighbors gathering with phones raised, his house, his pride and joy, in the background. He'd worked on spacecraft that traveled to the International Space Station. Now he was handcuffed for getting his newspaper. The irony was bitter. The drive to the station took 23 minutes through Houston traffic. Michael spent it thinking about the $925,000 purchase price, the pride he felt owning a home in Memorial, the NASA projects he was working on, the headlines this would create, the lawsuit he would file. They arrived at Houston PD's Memorial Division. Richards walked him inside, still handcuffed and barefoot, past a desk sergeant who looked up with concern. "Richards, what's the situation?" "Trespassing suspect from Memorial Drive. Refused to leave the property." The sergeant frowned. "Trespassing where?" 8247 Memorial Drive. Found him on the porch. No ID. Michael spoke up, his engineer's precise voice cutting through. "Sergeant, I'm Michael Carter, senior aerospace engineer at NASA Johnson Space Center. That's my house. I own it. I purchased it 3 years ago for $925,000. I was picking up my newspaper from my own front porch when Officer Richards arrested me for trespassing on my own property. Harris County property records will show Michael Carter as owner since 2021. My neighbors vouched for me. Multiple witnesses. This is my home." The sergeant's expression changed immediately. "You work at NASA?" "Senior systems engineer. 21 years. I work on spacecraft propulsion. I have 3 patents. I own that house." The sergeant looked at Richards with anger. "Did you verify property ownership?" He couldn't provide ID. "Because my ID is inside my house where I keep it. I stepped outside in my pajamas to get my newspaper." "Did you check property records? Listen to the neighbors?" He looked suspicious on that property. The sergeant pulled up Harris County property records immediately. Within seconds, Michael James Carter, owner since March 2021, purchase price $925,000. Current assessed value $975,000. He also did a quick search and found multiple articles about Michael's work at NASA. He turned to Richards with fury. "He owns the house. He works at NASA. You arrested a NASA engineer on his own porch for getting his newspaper." Within minutes, a division commander arrived, Captain Thomas Wright, a 26-year veteran who'd been fighting to remove Richards from duty for years. He reviewed everything, spoke with neighbors who were calling the station, confirmed Michael's NASA employment and property ownership, reviewed his professional credentials. He approached Michael, still handcuffed and barefoot. "Mr. Carter, this arrest was completely unjustified. You're being released immediately with our profound apologies. This should never have happened." He turned to Richards with controlled rage. "You arrested a NASA engineer at his own house for picking up his newspaper. Property records confirmed 3 years of ownership. Neighbors confirmed his identity. You had 0 probable cause. Badge and weapon. You're suspended pending termination." Richards protested. "Captain, I was responding to a break-in call." "You arrested a man in pajamas picking up a newspaper on his own porch at a house he paid $925,000 for. You didn't verify anything. You ignored neighbors. You've generated 28 complaints in 14 years. 23 involving black men in affluent neighborhoods. Supervisors have tried to terminate you multiple times. This ends now. Your career is over. Badge, weapon, now." By that afternoon, the story was spreading rapidly. NASA issued a statement supporting Michael and expressing concern about the incident. The aerospace community rallied. Local and national news covered it. Video from neighbors went viral. Michael's colleagues began speaking out about his contributions to the space program. Michael filed a comprehensive lawsuit 6 months later against Officer Kyle Richards, his supervisors who'd ignored 28 complaints, and Houston PD. The allegations were extensive: false arrest without probable cause on his own property, false imprisonment, trespassing by Richards on his property, violation of Fourth Amendment rights, racial profiling and discrimination, violation of property rights, intentional infliction of emotional distress, damage to his professional reputation, deliberate indifference to Richards's documented pattern. The complaint included Richards's complete record: 28 complaints over 14 years, 23 involving black men at properties in affluent neighborhoods, multiple supervisor recommendations for termination blocked by union protection. Houston city attorneys found no viable defense. Property records proved 3 years of ownership. Neighbors provided witness statements and video. Michael's NASA credentials were impeccable. He was barefoot in pajamas getting a newspaper. Richards made no attempt to verify. The pattern showed deliberate indifference. The city settled 18 months later. $1.3 million paid to Michael Carter. Officer Kyle Richards was terminated 9 weeks after the incident. The termination letter stated, Officer Richards arrested Michael Carter, a senior aerospace engineer at NASA, at his own residence for retrieving his newspaper. He had no probable cause. His pattern over 14 years demonstrates persistent racial bias. Employment terminated immediately. Richards' name entered the National Decertification Index. Michael testified before Houston City Council. I'm an aerospace engineer at NASA. I've spent 21 years working on spacecraft systems. I have 3 patents. I contribute to America's space program. I bought my house 3 years ago for $925,000, and I was arrested barefoot on my own porch for getting my newspaper because Officer Richards saw a black man in pajamas at a nice house and couldn't conceive that I might own it. He continued, 28 complaints in 14 years, 23 involving black men in wealthy neighborhoods. Multiple supervisors tried to fire him. The union blocked it every time. Houston PD documented everything but did nothing until a NASA engineer was arrested. $1.3 million is what taxpayers paid for that failure. But money doesn't undo being handcuffed barefoot in front of neighbors who know me, who attended my block party, who respect my work. Houston PD implemented reforms, mandatory property verification before trespassing arrests, automatic investigation at 3 complaints, body camera review, prohibition on arrests without verified complaints from property owners, supervisory accountability for ignoring patterns. Why do departments wait for 28 complaints and ignore termination recommendations? Comment your thoughts. This wasn't about one Saturday morning. This was about tolerating Kyle Richards for 14 years despite 28 complaints and multiple block termination attempts. Richards' career is over. The city paid $1.3 million. But that came after 14 years of warnings. Comment if union protections should never prevent termination for documented civil rights violations. And if these stories matter, hit that subscribe button. This isn't about one officer or one engineer. It's about systems that protect bad officers over protecting residents' rights to exist safely in their own homes.